The younger ranger looked at the clock mounted above the control panel. 7:58 p.m. Only 2 minutes remained before the park officially closed. He reached for the switch that controlled the entrance gate. Before his hand touched it, the older ranger spoke. "Don't lock the gate." The younger ranger paused. He turned around. The older man was still standing inside the observation tower, looking through a pair of weathered binoculars. The sun had almost disappeared behind the mountains. The last light of the evening stretched across the empty parking lot below. "We close in 2 minutes," the younger ranger said. "I know. Then why are we waiting?" The older ranger didn't answer. He simply kept watching the road leading out of the forest. The younger ranger glanced outside. The parking lot looked almost empty. The final shuttle bus had already left. Most hikers had driven away over the last hour. Everything looked normal. He looked back at the clock. 7:59 p.m. We're supposed to close now. Nothing. The older ranger lowered the binoculars for the first time. Without taking his eyes off the entrance road, he quietly repeated himself. Leave it open. For years, visitors believed national park rangers spent most of their time helping lost hikers or dealing with dangerous animals. In reality, their job was built around routine. Opening gates, closing gates, checking trails, counting visitors, recording vehicles, repeating the same procedures every single day. Because routine was what kept thousands of people safe. The older ranger had worked in the park for 31 years, long enough to recognize nearly every seasonal pattern. He knew when the elk migrated. He knew when the rivers flooded. He knew exactly how long it usually took a family to complete each trail. New rangers often joked that he could probably close the park with his eyes shut. He never laughed. Routine wasn't something he trusted. It was something he respected. Because the day routine changed, something else usually had. The younger ranger checked the departure log one last time. North Trail. Closed. River Loop. Closed. Canyon Path. Closed. Every hiking route had already reported clear. The maintenance crews were back. The visitor center had shut its doors. Even the campground office had signed off for the night. Everything matched. He looked outside again. The entrance road was empty. No headlights. No pedestrians. Nothing. He frowned. I really don't understand. The older ranger finally turned toward him. How long have you worked here? The younger ranger smiled. 8 months. The older ranger nodded once. Then don't worry. He raised the binoculars again. Just wait. Another minute passed. The younger ranger tried to distract himself by finishing the evening reports. Weather. Normal. Wildlife activity. Normal. Trail inspections. Normal. Lost persons. None. Vehicle incidents. None. It had been one of the quietest days of the season. Exactly the kind of shift every ranger hoped for. Then, the office phone rang. The younger ranger answered immediately. Ranger Station. For several seconds, he didn't say a word. His expression slowly changed. He glanced toward the older ranger, then looked back at the desk. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Another pause. I understand. We'll stay on the line. He slowly placed the receiver down without hanging up. The older ranger never turned around. He asked only one question. Who is it? The younger ranger swallowed. A woman. Another pause. She says, her husband never came home. Silence filled the tower. The younger ranger immediately reached for the radio. I'll call search and rescue. The older ranger stopped him. Not yet. The younger ranger stared at him. What do you mean, not yet? If he's still inside, every minute matters. I know. Then why are we waiting? For the first time that evening, the older ranger stepped away from the window. He walked over to the large map covering one wall of the station. Every trail, every bridge, every overlook. 31 years. Reduced to colored lines across a sheet of paper. He rested one hand on the map, then quietly asked, which vehicle is his? The younger ranger checked the registration log. A few seconds later, he looked back up. There isn't one. What? No vehicle. He entered on foot. The older ranger closed his eyes. Only for a moment. When he opened them again, his voice was calm. Call the superintendent. The younger ranger reached for the phone. What should I tell him? The older ranger looked toward the dark forest outside, then spoke the sentence that every ranger in the station would remember for years. Tell him, nobody enters this park tonight. The younger ranger couldn't believe what he had just heard. Nobody enters? The older ranger didn't answer. Instead, he picked up the station radio. Station 3 to all units. His voice remained perfectly steady. Close every trailhead. A brief silence followed. Then another ranger answered. Copy. A second voice came over the radio. Do you mean the north trails? No. The east side? No. The older ranger looked out across the dark tree line. Every trail. The radio fell silent. Nobody questioned the order. Not immediately. The younger ranger stared at him. You're shutting down the entire park. Because of one missing hiker. The older ranger finally looked at him. No, because I don't know who's still inside. Those words lingered in the room. The younger ranger frowned. What does that mean? No answer. Within minutes, the station came alive. Park employees who had been preparing to leave suddenly turned back. Maintenance trucks stopped at the exit. Trail crews reopened storage sheds. Search and rescue volunteers were called back before they had even reached home. Nobody understood why. They only knew one thing. A full park closure after sunset almost never happened. Not without wildfire. Not without severe weather. Not without a confirmed emergency. The superintendent arrived 20 minutes later. His truck stopped so abruptly that gravel scattered across the parking lot. He walked into the station carrying the evening reports. "I've just been told you shut down the entire park." The older ranger nodded. "I did. Why?" The younger ranger expected an explanation. None came. The superintendent placed the reports on the table. "We have one overdue visitor." "Yes." "We've handled this before." "Yes." "We've never closed the entire park over it." The older ranger quietly folded the visitor map. "Tonight is different." The superintendent crossed his arms. "How?" No response. The room remained completely silent. Finally, the superintendent spoke again. "Are you asking for search and rescue?" "Yes." "Additional deputies?" "Yes." "Medical standby?" "Yes." "Then tell me what you saw." The older ranger slowly shook his head. "I didn't see anything." The younger ranger blinked. The superintendent looked just as confused. "You closed my park." "Without seeing anything." "I said I didn't see anything." He paused. "I didn't say nothing was wrong." Nobody knew how to answer that. Outside, the last daylight disappeared behind the mountains. The floodlights around the ranger station switched on automatically. Search vehicles began arriving one after another. Volunteers unloaded medical packs. Emergency radios were tested. Maps were spread across folding tables. Trail assignments were prepared. The younger ranger watched the operation grow larger every minute. Hundreds of hours. Thousands of dollars. Dozens of people. All because one experienced ranger refused to close a gate. He walked over to the older ranger one last time before the search began. "I need you to tell me something." The older ranger remained focused on the dark entrance road. "What? Do you actually think that man is still alive?" For several seconds, nothing. Then the older ranger answered, "I don't know." The younger ranger let out a slow breath. "Then why are we doing all this?" The older ranger finally turned toward him. His expression hadn't changed all evening. "I've worked in this park for 31 years. I've made thousands of mistakes. I can live with those." He looked back toward the forest. "But I've only ignored my instincts once." A long silence followed. "I won't do it again." Just then, one of the radios crackled. "Search Team 1 entering North Trail." A second later, another voice came through. "Negative. We've got footprints. The younger ranger immediately looked toward the older ranger. It was the first time that entire night. The older ranger closed his eyes, quietly. Almost to himself. He whispered, "He's still in there." No one in the room noticed, except the younger ranger. Search Team 1 entered the North Trail at 9:18 p.m. By then, every entrance to the park had been closed. The younger ranger remained inside the station, listening to the radio. Every transmission, every location, every update. Outside, the older ranger never moved. He stayed in the observation tower, watching the dark tree line through his binoculars. Almost 2 hours passed. Then, the radio crackled. Search Team 2. Static. We found him. The younger ranger grabbed the microphone. Condition? A pause. Alive. The station erupted. Volunteers smiled. Someone let out a long breath. The superintendent quietly sat down for the first time that night. The search wasn't over, but everyone already knew the outcome. The missing hiker was alive. Nearly an hour later, he arrived back at the ranger station wrapped in blankets. Cold, exhausted. His boots were soaked from crossing a shallow creek. A medic checked him while another ranger filled out the incident report. The younger ranger expected the older ranger to ask where the man had been. He didn't. Instead, he asked only one question. "What made you leave the trail?" The hiker looked confused. "I thought I found a shortcut." "The old fire road?" The man nodded. "I kept thinking I'd reconnect with the main trail, but I never did." The older ranger simply nodded. Nothing else. No lecture, no explanation. He walked back outside. The younger ranger watched him disappear toward the tower. Everything now had a reasonable explanation. A tired hiker, an abandoned road, a wrong turn, and a successful rescue. The superintendent signed the final page of the incident report. "Good work." The search teams slowly packed their equipment. Medical vehicles left. Deputies headed home. One by one, the lights inside the station were turned off. Only the observation tower remained lit. Just before midnight, the younger ranger climbed the stairs. The older ranger was standing exactly where he had been all evening, looking toward the entrance gate. The younger ranger stood beside him. For a while, neither of them spoke. Finally, he asked, "You knew someone was still inside?" "No, you kept the gate open." "Yes, you shut down the entire park." "Yes!" The younger ranger looked at him. "I don't understand." The older ranger rested the binoculars on the railing. For several long seconds, he said nothing. Then, very quietly, "I wasn't waiting for the hiker." The younger ranger felt his stomach tighten. "Then who were you waiting for?" The older ranger looked toward the empty entrance road. His face never changed. I don't know. Silence. Wind moved through the pine trees below. Somewhere in the distance, a gate creaked. The younger ranger waited for him to continue. He never did. The official report listed the incident as lost hiker located after extended ground search. No unusual activity, no equipment failures, no wildlife encounters, no further recommendations. The older ranger retired 6 months later. He never spoke about that night again. Years passed. The younger ranger eventually took over the observation tower himself. He followed every procedure exactly as he had been trained. Every vehicle logged, every trail cleared, every gate closed at sunset, except one on his final night before retirement. He left the main gate open, 23 minutes longer than required. When another ranger asked why, he looked toward the empty road and gave the only answer he had ever been certain of. I don't know. Not yet.